My perception of Ghana was I need to move to Ghana. It was all day, every day. I came in December 2021. And I decided I'm going to stay for 2 months, which would have been probably the longest duration that I've stayed. The honeymoon phase for me was 2 parts. Remember, I was kind of riding the high of December Ghana. January is still kind of December Ghana. Everybody's still here. We're all still having fun. So reality began sinking in for me when you realize that the lifestyle that you glamorized, I can get to Kozo and I can go to the Vine and I can be here and I can be here every single day, is not at all what it is. Ever since I have been in Ghana from December till now, in dollars I have spent close. My name is Amina Siddiq. I've been in Ghana for about 6 months. I'm an IT professional, so I do a lot of business analysis, project management. I'm also into music management, so I manage an artist called Luna L, working with a record label called Hot Freestyle. And yeah, that's pretty much. I am Ghanaian. My parents are actually Ghanaian, so I was born and raised in Canada, but I've been here since I was a child. So stayed here from when I was about 4 to 6, 7 years old, then went back to Canada, and I've been back ever since, yearly actually. So I'm not unfamiliar with Ghana. Growing up and living in Canada was actually, it was good. It was good. It's different. It's quite different. I would say that the opportunities that I had there were great. Friends, family. The culture is different, multicultural, so you get to meet all manners of people, different walks of life. I love it there, but of course I love Ghana as well. So it's just kind of like the merge between the two countries. My perception of Ghana was I need to move to Ghana. It was all day, every day. I used to immerse myself with everything Ghanaian, whether it be the food, whether it be the language, just forcing my parents to teach me, this is how you speak, this is what you say, these are different dialects. It was the movies, Nollywood. I remember growing up and watching Beyonce, and I would watch it every weekend. So I know all the words like back to back. And I just really loved Ghana and just the whole vibrance of the place. And I said to myself, one day when I get older, I will move there myself. Visiting, I would say as a child, was boring. I will have to say that. It was extremely boring because we used to go to the village. We never stayed in Accra. We used to go, my family's from Sunyani. So we used to go to Sunyani all the time, and I just hated it. I absolutely hated it. And then as I got older, a couple of friends of mine were like, you know what, you need to find a way to ditch your parents. Like find a way to stay in Accra or stay somewhere where, it's a little bit more fun and just just uppity. And so I said, okay, you know what, let's figure out a way. So I kind of worked with my cousin, and they said, hey, auntie, let her stay in Accra with us. And from there I was like, okay, Ghana's wonderful. Ghana's a place to be. Okay, so my journey for relocation actually started quite some time. It was, I want to say it's been about 5 years in thinking and actually executing. So back in 2017, I remember I went to my parents and I was like, gosh, I absolutely hate it here. And when I say hate it, it was not necessarily that I didn't want to be in Canada or be in the West, but I just knew that there was more opportunities and more things to kind of get my hands dirty with in Ghana. And so, we had a conversation, and they said, okay, what would you do when you're there? And I had to think long and hard because, again, fresh out of university, don't know what my skill sets would look like in Ghana. So I actually took time thinking, visiting often. So I'd come at least 2 times a year, meet with friends and family, kind of scope the area out. And then eventually, after COVID passed, and I was in the remote working space, so I'm working in IT and working remotely, I said, you know what, this is the best time for me to go because everybody's virtual right now. I can just pick up my laptop and go. without the fear of not having work, but also having that security to know that, okay, whilst I'm working, I can kind of peruse the space of Ghana and see, where I could actually, tap in my skill sets and do well here. So I packed my bags. Actually, I want to say I came in December 2021. And I decided I'm going to stay for 2 months, which would have been probably the longest duration that I've stayed. I'm going to stay for 2 months and I'm going to see how it is. And I stayed till end of January. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to Toronto. I'm going to pack it up and I'm going to come back. So I went back to Toronto sometime in February. And by March, I was back. So literally a couple of weeks, came back, brought all my things down. Everything that I could pack, really, brought it down with me. And that, the rest is history. The honeymoon phase for me was 2 parts. Remember, I was kind of riding the high of December Ghana. January is still kind of December Ghana. Everybody's still here. We're all still having fun. And then I went in February and I was still on that high, like, yes, I love Ghana. And I came in March. The honeymoon phase lasted a month. I want to say it lasted 1 month because it's like, wow, I'm here. Let's get all the food I can get. Let's get all the drinks I can get. Let's meet all my friends. Let's just have a party. But that's not the case because you're actually living and you're actually now settling in a country. And I always say that where my home is, I always like to have fun outside of my space, but where I actually live, that's where I'm very focused and very driven and I actually get things done. So after a month, I was like, all right, enough with the fun and the games, let's get down to business. And so after that month, that's when my honeymoon phase passed for me. So reality began sinking in for me when you realize that the lifestyle that you glamorized, I can get to Kozo and I can go to the Vine and I can be here and I can be here every single day, is not at all what it is. Reality set in when you actually, this is where you live. So, when you're here on vacation and you're renting these Airbnbs or you're staying with friends, you don't really think to yourself, how do they get internet? Or how do we get water in here? How are the lights always on? And, because all of those things are taken care of for you. You're only living in the space for a month. But then reality started setting in when it's like, okay, let's get some really good internet connection here because I need to work remotely. Lights are going out. We need to, is it billed per month or do you do prepaid? And you find out everything is prepaid here. And so if you don't top it up, your lights are going to go off. That's when reality started setting in for me. Noticing that, before I would just easily give 20 Ghana cities and 10 Ghana cities just to the common hawker. And I realized that, if you do that every single day, you're going to run at a cost. So, having to stop that and sometimes feeling bad, because when you're here on vacation, you're just giving money out and you're just spending it because you have somewhere to go back to. But when this is now your home, you really have to cut back on a lot of things and really reanalyze and say, all right, this is where I am. These are the things that I need to get done. And this is how I'm going to structure myself from then on. If not, you are always going to come to a place where at the end of the month, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Right? So you have to kind of scale back your lifestyle a little bit to acclimatize. I have a love and hate relationship with housing here, right? Because essentially, when you're coming from abroad, the standards of homes that you would like to live in, that's going to run you at a cost that is not a norm for many Ghanaians here, right? So if the standard of homes that, a lot of people I know or myself when I first came, we look for, those homes are in Labani, cantonments, airport residential. But then, you tend to find that you're actually paying a lot more for those spaces than you would pay for when you're actually living abroad, right? So you're looking at 3,000 USD a month, 2,500 USD a month, and that's USD, not Ghana cities, right? And so when you are looking for an accommodation, especially when you're living here and you want to obviously save and make it work for you, you start looking in other areas. And those other areas comes with its whole a whole bag of, you know, I want to say difficulties. So the difficulties would be, you know, connection in the area. So internet and cell connection in the area, having low current. So those areas sometimes are not developed with electricity. So sometimes your ACs may not be powering as good as they need to be. Your people, you can't get calls or receive calls. And then when you move into the areas that are more common, then you notice that your cell, you know, service goes up more. You know, you're getting that AC. So it's just really finding the middle ground, between what's more affordable but what's also not going to make me very uncomfortable. And the prices, I will have to say, they need to be more regular, like, you know, regulated in sense of, we're asking, you know, people to put up a, you know, 12 months worth of rent. That's never seen in other places of the world. Like, how does one person come up with, you know, 12 months worth of rent? And so in situations like that, you have to really kind of either find an agent and somebody that you can say, this is my budget, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm willing to spend, and this is what I'm not willing to spend. I'm a big planner. So prior to coming, I said, I got a place, paid up front, and then when I got here, it wasn't anything that I had thought it was going to be. So I said, okay, I cannot do it. So I looked for another place. This time I did this research on my own. Home was beautiful on the outside, inside great, but then when I actually moved into it, there were so many problems: electricity, the water pump, the current issues, you know, the estate issues. There were so many issues with it. But once you get in, it's like you're on your own. It's like nobody's going to help fix any situation, even if it's the landlord. Sometimes you're not willing to help. So I said to myself, I'm like, nope, I'm not staying here. I'm uncomfortable, and I left. So two places that I looked at I did not like, and I left it. And then I ended up, you know, just being in my family home, which was, you know, better. But of course, when you're here, you obviously want to be independent, and you want to actually like make something your home, right? So it's not always that you're going to want to stay with family. But those are my kind of experiences. And then recently I actually found a beautiful space, but I actually went through an agent now, and that was the bigger difference. I actually went through an agent. Luckily for me, I got a good agent, but this agent was very helpful, took me around, showed me different places, and I found one place I really liked, and so it's been good so far. The highlights of my staying in Ghana is really just learning the city more. So when you're here on vacation, you're using your GPS all the time, or you're using Ubers. Now I'm more mobile, like I'm very independent, so I know my left from my right. I don't need to use GPS. If somebody says, you know, I'm at Sheshi, I know exactly where that is, as opposed to like calling people and like, what's Sheshi? Like, what's that? You know, or I'm at Airport Residential. I know how to get there. I know how to bypass traffic. Even down to the outskirts like Pram and Tema. I know my ways around, and so that I want to say that's my biggest highlight. Being able to kind of maneuver through a city that you don't know sometimes becomes tasking, but once you are able to, you kind of you feel free. You feel like, wow, I've actually settled into this place. Another biggest highlight is my connections and my networking. So being here and being on ground elevates your network a little bit more. So I've always, for many years, I've networked with people on ground virtually, and so yes, people know who I am, my name, but when you're actually here, you actually can form a solid connection with those people, meeting with them, having dinner with them. So I think that's also helped my network, and actually meeting people and learning about the different spaces in Accra, and learning how to kind of, I would like to say, learning how to apply your skills and your interests in different spaces here. And so those are really my biggest high. And the weather and the food. I'm forever getting sunlight. It's doing well for my skin, and the food is amazing. So those are my biggest highlights. The biggest mistakes, I want to say, moving to Ghana was I planned for a happy path, right? and not planning for if things go a little bit left, right? Because we're always like, okay, this and this and this is what I expect to happen, so I'm planning for that, but not planning for like, oh, what if this happens or what if that happens. So I think my mistake was just better planning, actually, just better planning. Sometimes we think that, oh, this is my plan, everything's gonna go well, and then they have this saying like Accra stay by plan. So it's like you come stay by plan, but sometimes things can go completely left, and you have to be able to navigate that space when things do go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So I think it's the answer is planning. So if somebody is coming to Ghana, lessons that I would share with them and that they need to be prepared for is, one, what is your income when you're coming in here, right? So this place is a lot of output, putting a lot of money out every single day. If you leave your house, be ready to spend at least minimum 100 Ghana cedis, especially if you're coming from abroad. That I'm speaking for people who are coming outside of Ghana and not for the normal Ghanaian. So be prepared to spend at least 100 Ghana cedis a month. Sometimes you could spend anywhere between 2,000 Ghana cedis a week if you're not careful, right? So just know what your income strategy is and know that this is what I'm going to be making. This is my what's coming in as opposed to what's always going out. Second lesson that I would give or I would share is your accommodation. Ensure that where you're staying is set up from, if you can, before you get to Ghana or the first week that when you get to Ghana, and ensure that where you're staying is close to the areas that you frequent the most. So if you know that you are somebody who stays or does a lot of work or dealings in Osu, ensure that you're staying somewhere that's in close proximity to that area, or you will run into a lot of traffic issues and you'll be more frustrated, and that will add to a negative experience here when you come to Ghana, because traffic is just crazy. A third is identify your transportation and how you're getting around. Are you gonna make a budget for Uber every day? Do you have a car? Do you want to ship a car down? So ensure that you know how you're getting around. And then I think my fourth lesson in all of this is cook. A lot of us come and we stay in Ghana, we visit and we like it, and we go to all sorts of places to eat food, and sometimes you can go months or weeks without actually cooking because you're always buying food outside. But actually learn to go to the market. And when I say market, not the grocery stores, an actual market where women are selling things, and learn how to, do those things on your own. Like, hi, can I get some tomatoes? Or hi, can I get some ginger? And actually cook for yourself, because that will go a long way in saving, and also, feeling like you're actually not a visitor anymore. You've actually moved and you are now a resident of this place. Ever since I have been in Ghana from December till now, in dollars, I have spent close to $20,000, I'm sure, right? Factoring in the accommodations for December staying, factoring in my transportation, my food, all of my my going in and coming out. I'm very convinced that I've spent close to $20,000.
If things were to have gone the way you would have planned, like if housing wouldn't have been a challenge, if things were to be smooth, how much money would you have spent maybe?
If things were to have been smoother, I'm sure I would have spent less than $10,000. Yeah. But the mistakes and the learnings along the way also cost money. So yeah, I could have saved myself at least another $10,000.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.